Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes with our tanker alt, Liberty Lass, who's level 13. Um, I'm sorry about that last episode. Uh, my audio got cut off right as I was explaining that I wanted to make sure I didn't log off outside because I didn't want too much patrol XP. I still got a bunch. 107, well, a little bit, 176. That's not too bad. I just don't want thousands. So I called our contact in between times, and he told us to defeat igneous minions in the Gulch. So the Gulch, not sure where that is, so we gotta look for it. We're in Cherry Hill right now. Off screen, I've been working on actually messing around with a supergroup base. So I actually put this character into a supergroup. She's all by herself, called the Freedom Squad. It used to be you had to have, I think, 4 people together. Like, you had to invite 4 people in it at once to form a supergroup, but now you don't have to. So she's the only member of the team, of course, and therefore is the leader. And I mostly did this so I could create my own supergroup. And then once I had done that, I could mess around with bases and stuff because I want to do a little bit of base building. It used to be fun to do. I spent quite a few hours messing with that. I have no idea where the Gulch is. Right? It just says go into Grendel's Gulch. Yeah, it doesn't show on the map because it's a hazard zone. So we're gonna have to sort of uncover it, which I find annoying. I really don't like these defeat X number on the street, and I especially don't like when it's not just in a particular zone, but it's in a particular part of the zone. So even if like this is, like, let's say if this is the right zone, it doesn't look like it, but if this is the right zone and I'm on the border here, and one of them runs away into the next zone and I chase him and defeat him, it won't count, even though he was in that zone when I started. So I really don't like that whole aspect of the story arcs. I don't like when they make you do that. This looks like it might be a gulch. Gulches are down underneath, you know, like canyons and stuff. So I don't know if this is it or not. Let's see. Red River. So that doesn't count. Let's move to the next zone. I've been in Grendel's Gulch before, I feel like. Eastgate Park. So where the heck is Grendel's Gulch? And why don't I have a symbol, like the little pin for it? I bet the pin is right there. So we're on the Red River. Now are we going to go to Grendel's Gulch? Cherry Hills. Where the heck is this thing? There's a tunnel. Clear that waypoint. I don't even know where this is, and I have to say I find this very aggravating. Because I just want to get this over with so I can do an actual mission. Alright, here's Grendel's Gulch, so now we have to find minions of Igneous. Trolls don't count, obviously. There's minions of Igneous. Alright, watch them be resistant to everything I do, because it seems like things are always resistant to what I'm doing. My damage is always resisted, and that's my own fault because I always take smashing or lethal. But that's the character concepts I come up with, so it is what it is. Alright, so that's one. And that's 2. And we should find a lot more of them. Yep, here we go. Well, these guys don't seem to be too resistant to smashing. 24 damage I did, and oh, so it looks like they're actually maybe a little more vulnerable to it. Yeah, so I'll show you guys the base at the end here. All I have is the entrance area. I tried doing all kinds of things that the base editor was never meant to do to try to make it look unique and interesting. And so, yeah, I'll show you a little bit of like what I've started, and you know, I also want it to be, from a utilitarian point of view, for all my characters, I can have them use the base code that I came up with, little combination code, and that code will let any of my characters in, which means I can store salvage for any of my characters. I can have any of them go in there to do crafting. Just makes life a little bit easier for those that aren't on like an actual super. And 1 to go. Let's rest up here. Is there an igneous up there? Looks like it. Right there. Doesn't really matter which one we go to, they're all white cons. So we'll beat up this guy. And we've completed our mission. Yeah, these guys aren't so bad because they're not resistant to smashing. And that did 50 damage. So they're taking like 20% more damage or something. Okay. Enough. Alright, let's talk to him. And he says, the igniuses are deadly. Now, he says, I've spent the morning in divination livery laughs, and I have uncovered a most valuable secret. I know where the trolls' leader, Ada, makes his home. If you can defeat Ada, the trolls will have a hard time recovering. Ada is one of the few trolls with any reason remaining. For that reason, he is more deadly than his brethren. Yes, let's go ahead and defeat Ada. I have to say, finding a lot of the newer, like Fault Line, I think is great. It's a really cool story. The Hollows, to be honest, I don't find the story very inspiring, at least up to this point. And some of the other newer ones, like the Twin Shot stuff, I don't find that very inspiring either. I feel like the stories were better when the older stories are better. I feel like there's an actual plot to them, and you feel like you've actually learned something about the world. What is this? Why are these guys -2 to me? Must be a backloaded mission. I would kill for an AoE right now. Because you know it would pound them. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, you know, just playing around in the Super Base Editor. There's a lot of things you can do with it. There's a lot of tricks I can't remember exactly how to do. One thing you can do is stack items on top of each other. So you can stack like boxes on top of each other to make like a three-dimensional structure. And there's less need to do that now because there are some things that you can do, like walkways and stuff, already in the base editor, so you don't have to do this silly stacking. But it also can look really cool, and it can make the base look unique if you use stacking to create some three-dimensional structures. And I don't want that to be control, Control click means auto attack, and I don't want it to do that. So we just have to defeat Ada and his guards, which will not be hard. Wow, I keep getting yellows. Will not be hard if they're all going to be green. Wow. Is it giving me like 2 yellows every time I kill one of these guys? Alright, wow, this is going to be a really long mission. Look how big this map is. Oh, okay, now they're blue. So it's a backloaded mission, right? With the harder stuff at the end, so Ada will probably be yellow, or it'll probably be orange to us, maybe red. So we're definitely going to want to save the inspirations, because we know it's going to get harder. On the other hand, if I have inspirations I don't need, I can get rid of them. And you can see with the 2 toggles running, even against greens, after a while you start running out of endurance. Oh, we just leveled up, which gives us our endurance back and is going to make this even easier. Wow, where are they all coming from? I would kill for an AoE right now. With greens, they would get their butts absolutely kicked. Come on. Yeah, so this is absolutely almost silly, because they're green and she's a tanker and she has resistance to everything they do, and especially extra resistance because of the level up buff. I don't know which way to go with this guy. I have no idea where he is. Oh, this is a dead end. Well, now we've aggroed the guy, so we gotta fight him. Okay. Well, we definitely need that, and we don't need that, so we'll pull that away. And this is another dead end. Yeah, this thing is going to be huge, so... could take a while. Yeah, so I guess my feeling on the kind of newer story arcs, the ones that were generated, you know, years after the game launched, like Hollows and some of these other zones, is that I think it's nice that they all, that all the parts of the story arc happen within one zone. I like the zone-based story, and I like the concept that each one is the story of the zone. So you don't really get the story of Atlas Park or Steel Canyon or Kings Row from doing your missions, but I mean, you get it a little bit, but not much, and it's very disjointed, whereas here you really get the story of the Hollows, and you absolutely get the story of Fault Line in the Fault Line story arc and so forth. Same thing with Croatoa, which I haven't done on any of my characters yet, Strig Island. It's isolated to that storyline, to that zone, and so the story is about the zone, and so you don't have to leave the zone, and you know, a lot of players like that because there's less running around. But the problem is, I feel like the stories are just very thin. It just doesn't make the Hollows interesting. Fault Line is very good. I think that was the first one of those that they did, but I really thought Striga Isle was very lackluster, and the Hollows is as well. And so, like I said, a lot of the newer stories they seem like they're missing something. And I'm not sure. I mean, I know with the Twin Shot stories, I felt like they were trying to make the UI and the game do things it was never meant to do. So there's all this extra conversation, and the missions are complicated instead of just being defeat a troll or punch somebody or, you know, click on a glowy. They're like, oh, do this and then talk to this person, and then that person follows you around and does stuff. And there's Adasgard. He's a boss. Okay. Let's take these guys out first. So I feel like those are all very complicated. And it's not like it's too complicated for me to understand, but I feel like it's too complicated for the game to handle. Right? So if I ever post my Stalker playthrough, what you'll see is that I became quite aggravated because whenever I used my Stalker's hide, the stealth power, the NPCs wouldn't be able to see her. And so I had to choose between, do I use my actual power that gives me the most damage because I'm doing an ambush, right? And forego the extra help from the NPC, or do I turn off stealth, right, hide, which gives me my best chance at doing huge damage, but allow the NPC to follow me around and help me. And even when you allow them to follow you around and help you, they're just totally incompetent, which I find very frustrating. And I think part of the reason they're incompetent is just because the missions are too complicated, and you know, the NPCs just can't figure out how to help you. And so, you know, I don't know who is responsible for writing these newer missions, but I definitely feel like the sort of simplicity and the kind of the simple beauty of the story arcs that the vanilla game had at launch was lost when they tried to make these like more complicated and sophisticated storylines. And, you know, I guess I prefer the simplicity, mostly because the simplicity then didn't require them to do anything sophisticated or complicated, and the game was able to handle what they were asking you to do. Whereas I feel like the engine kind of struggles to do some of the things they asked you to do in this Twin Shot storyline, for example. And even here, the story is very, very thin. Oh, there's some trolls and they're being bad. And that's pretty much, and you can tell from the clues, right? Look at the Clockwork Captive. Those are the clues for that story arc. We have 0 clues for this story arc. They didn't even bother to write anything down. And that's disappointing to me as a City of Heroes player who's used to these, you know, long-winded story arcs. I mean, the Officer Wincott one was long, but the rest of them haven't really been. And I don't know, even the ones that are longer, I feel like they're just kind of lackluster. So, at least for me, I'm going ahead and doing all the newer ones with this character, and I did more of the vanilla ones with my other character, and that's fine. But as time goes by, and as I, is this the boss here? No. As time goes by, and as I make new characters, I'm probably not going to bother, like with the Hollows anymore, or with Striga Isle, or with Twin Shot, especially with Twin Shot. I really feel like that's not a very well done set of missions. I mean, I think the story is maybe okay, but even that's like really confusing. And you can tell it's confusing because when Twin Shot, who's your contact, is giving you instructions, she's like, I don't know, just do it. I don't understand it either. It's some techno gobbledygook that, you know, Proton understands, but not me. And I'm like, that's just bad writing. That means like the writers didn't even understand their own story, or they acknowledge that their own story was so confusing most players weren't going to understand it. Well, if you know that, then why are you writing it, right? Why don't you make something that we can understand? So, yeah, I'm not a fan of some of those arcs, and I much prefer something like the Bonefire arc, which was really simple story. It was a good story. It taught you a lot about the Skulls and the Hellions. It was your final time confronting them, because then you were going to level up, and you were going to graduate to much stronger villains like the Trolls. And so it was just sort of a nice little almost graduation ceremony, after which you just moved on and fought more powerful villains. We have a long way to go in this mission. But it seems like they got rid of that sort of simple elegance of their original story arcs in favor of trying to tell more complicated stories, and the writing is just not good enough to support it, and neither is the engine. Anyway, that's my feeling. You know, it doesn't mean that I don't like most of the rest of the game. I do, but some of these story arcs, I feel like they've been kind of lackluster. On the other hand, I'm actually quite enjoying this tanker build. They've clearly made some changes, I guess, or maybe I'm just, you know, figuring the game. Maybe I just understand the game better, and so I'm not frustrated as easily. But I remember being highly frustrated by the time I was level 14 or 15 with this character, in terms of just how little damage she did, because smashing is so frequently the resisted attack. I mean, these guys, I think, do have, well, it's hard to tell because they're Grey Khans, so they take extra damage, but they do have some smashing resistance, quite a bit actually, because they're Trolls. Now, I've got it more than they do, right? So they've got like 25%, and I've got like 45, but they do make it take longer under normal circumstances. The reason it's not is because we're fighting Greys, and Greys are really easy. They don't give much experience, but they're really easy. I wonder why this mission is giving me all these -2s, -3s. I mean, it makes it easy, but I wonder why. I mean, it's not like I took this mission 3 levels ago. Pardon me for the yawn. It's not like I took this mission 3 or 4 levels ago, and that's why they're so far below me. I'd leveled up to 14 in here, but still, I was 13 when I walked in. So, I don't know. Alright, that takes him out. Man, there are a lot of Trolls in here. So these guys are 12th level. Oh, 13th level. Sorry. Misread that. Take an awful lot of damage when they're that low of a level. When they're blue to you or whatever. I really wish I had an AoE right now. It's not as critical against, like, say, yellows or purples, because you can't do anything to them really anyway with an AoE. But against, like, green and blue Khans, an AoE would, like, take out 1/3 of their hit points. just because they're so far below your level, especially greens. And we need to rest up and gain some endurance. So yeah, we're going to need to be slotting stamina soon. That comes at 17 and health at 19 if I can remember this time, because I forgot to do it at 17 on my martial arts super reflex scrapper, or at 19. I think I ended up slotting stamina at 21 and health at 23 or 5 or something, which is not what I want to do. Especially on this character, she needs the health. The regeneration will be very helpful because it stacks with dull pain, right? So you're regenerating some percent of your hit points, so when you use dull pain and it gives you more base hit points, that means you get more recovery. Because it's as a percentage, but the damage you're taking is not as a percentage, it's just a total number. Like if they do 30 hit points of damage, they do that whether I have 600 or 620. So having a higher regen rate overcomes sort of counteracts their attacks more completely. So if I have a regen rate of, if I've got 1,000 hit points and I've got a 10% regeneration rate, so it's regenerating 100 points per tick, and they only do 50 damage to me per tick, I can eventually recover, right? But if I only have 600 hit points, it'll take me longer to recover. So the idea is that you just want to try to stack things, and so dull pain stacks really well with health. So, oh, and now we got some even level guys. So this is clearly a backloaded mission. A backloaded mission means the level of the enemies starts out very low at the beginning and then climbs, and then at the end you have very challenging enemies. The opposite way to do it is with a front-loaded mission, and that's where the enemies are much stronger at the beginning. You're fighting yellows and oranges at the beginning, and then by the end you're fighting blues and greens. Now, neither of those is super common. The much more common way is a flat mission, where the challenge is roughly equal throughout. Flat missions can still have +1s in them, but in fact, as we've seen, sometimes flat missions have more +1s than +0s, even though the mission is set to +0, which I find frustrating, because then why are you asking me for what mission difficulty I want if you're not going to listen to me? But you won't see the wild fluctuation in level range from the beginning to the end. Now that looks like a dead end there. I don't see any other guards, so I'm just going to move on down the hallway. This has been a very long mission, and I don't want to make people watch hours and hours of this. I mean, this is the problem with a tanker. You could get into many hours of a long mission just because they don't do damage very fast. Let's see what we got over here. There's a glowy there. I don't see the boss. But we're obviously going to have to click the glowy. Oh, we're not even halfway done with this mission. Good grief. And again, normally I don't care, but I don't want to make the audience of this video, whoever watches it, sit through like an hour and a half of one mission. So this is pretty much standard, attacking protocol. You just pick one mob and you wear it all the way down. There's no need to do anything fancy. They're white cons, I'm a tanker, and on top of that, I have resistance, 45% to what they're doing, which is smashing damage, so they basically can't kill me, unless I do something really stupid. which I've been known to do. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I am prone to doing stupid things. Alright, so let's click this glowy. Got a clue. And the clue says, a burnt hat. Why are they keeping a burnt hat? Alright, well, we're going to just ignore those guys because they're just minions. And this is another dead end. Why did it? Oh, he must have fallen. Yeah, I was wondering why it switched targets, because I thought this guy still hit it. The other guy that's on the ground here still had hit points, but obviously not. How long has this been now? An hour? Sorry about this, guys. There's just no way to tell how long a mission's going to be when you enter it, unless you've done the exact mission before, and even then, sometimes they change maps. And there's also no way to know how big the map is going to be. So where the heck? Oh, this way. Okay. Guess we gotta go that way. Yeah, I mean, there's just no way to know. So you just gotta kind of wander around till you find whatever it is they want you to find. And that looks like another dead end with just Trollkin gunners, so who cares? Alright, so let's see. We can find some more passageways. Oh, there's another one here too. I don't know if that's going to be a dead end. It looks like it might be. And then there's another passageway here. So this is sort of like a maze. I guess it's a good thing this thing was backloaded, because otherwise, can you imagine how long it would take to fight them if they were all white cons? And, you know, it's clear that we have to keep going south, but there's no way of knowing whether it's this, or the one over here. If there is one there that's going to lead us south, you just can't know. You can see there's absolutely no threat. You can see how nice and stable the hit points of a tanker are, especially a resistance tanker. Two different directions. Yeah, so this is just all branching. There's just no way to know which branch to take to get to this guy and his guards. This is where, you know, people with stealth, like stalkers and stuff, would go run through the cave and find just the guy you're supposed to beat up and beat him up. Over there either. Just more troll skin buckshots and stuff. Gotta rest again. And of course, being a tanker, whatever length there is to the mission, it takes twice as long as, say, a scrapper or a stalker, just because you just don't do that much damage. So I'm sorry guys, I will not be showing anything about the base at the end of this episode because it's already taken like an hour, I think, if I'm timing it right, and I really don't like making episodes this long because they take forever to upload. Every minute the video takes like 3 or 4 minutes to upload, so an hour-long video is going to take me like 4 hours to upload. I kind of don't mind the map being big, but one of the things I actually do mind is how many spawns they have packed so close together, and it's like, why? Why do you need to have so many spawns in one mission that I'm going to gain an entire level from one mission? Like, this is not adding to the story, you know what I mean? So, I prefer smaller missions where there's like a higher story to mission length ratio. You do a few battles, maybe half as many as we've done so far, and you get the next chapter, and then that puts more of the focus on the story than on the just sort of grinding, which is what this really is. Can't tell if... See over there? Oh, there he is. Well, there's a guard, but not him. So this is the thing, we gotta go through the whole thing and find all of his guards, and then find him. And there's no way of knowing how many of his guards there are, because it doesn't tell you. So, I mean, we're maybe halfway done with this mission. This could be like a 3-hour mission. This is ridiculous. I mean, there's just, to me, there's no reason to make it this long. And again, I feel like most of the time, the story arcs in the original game didn't have this map, and the maps weren't. I mean, yeah, some of the underground maps are pretty big, but I feel like this is just over the top. Because the big maps might have been big, but they didn't. See, look at all this. Look at the spawns here. Alright, so now I'm going to have to like crank every inspiration I have to survive this, because there's a boss here, and I might have to run anyway. And the only reason I'm not already dead is because the only reason I'm not already dead is because I leveled. Right? And having leveled, I'm higher than these guys. Otherwise, these guys all would have been yellow to me, and the boss would have been red, and I would have already died. Well, I'm gonna have to flee because I don't have any endurance left. So I'm gonna have to flee and rest. Oh, can't fight them. Come on, get off the wall. Why am I stuck? Jeez. And more guys. So let's just stop and rest. And then we'll go back. Yeah, that was my fault because I didn't recover enough endurance, I guess. Is that him? Yep, that's him. It's sort of odd that his guards are not with him. Alright, well, we'll fight the boss then. Try to do a little extra damage. Gonna have to take a heal. I may just cut this video, guys. This is gonna take forever. It might, like, it literally might take me 2 hours to do this mission total. We've already done like an hour of this video, and the mission's been about 40 minutes, I think. So, yeah, I just don't know how much longer this is gonna be. And if I have to like run out to get inspirations, which I might, I just don't know. Because you know, I can't fight a lieutenant, a guard, and all these minions with no inspirations at this level. Which the developers should know. I mean, and I'm a friggin' tanker. I can't imagine what, like, a low-level scrapper would do against these guys. I guess you'd have to do a lot of pulling. Which I have no real way to do. Other than this thing. I could also go out and level up and take another power, and maybe that additional power or additional defense or something might help. Although none of the defensive powers are going to do any good until I get to invincibility, which I don't think I get till level 18. Yeah, again, I have no idea which way to go. I'm trying to head more toward the south just because it's pretty clear from this map that we have to go down here. But I really have no idea where this guy is or how many more of his guards there are going to be. Yeah, and like none of this looks like it's part of what you have to do. I have no idea if this is a defeat all. If it is, it's going to be like a 3 or 4 hour mission. So, yeah, I just don't know, you know, how big this is. There's no way to know. This is when I wish I was a stalker, because I literally would just turn on hide and run all through the map and find who I was supposed to do, assassinate the bosses, and be done. And normally I don't like doing that with missions, but this is just so insanely long. To me, the City of Heroes mission should be about 15 or 20 minutes. If it's taking me like a half hour to do it, it's too long. And if it's taking me an hour, it's way too long. Oh, there's Ada. But I don't know if I've gotten enough of his guards. So we'll just have to see. Inspiration time. We have our dull pain back, which is really important. Gonna make Ada follow me out so that I don't end up fighting the rest of his guys right now. Alright. Increased accuracy so we don't miss while we're doing our excess damage. And now we just pour the damage on as best we can as a tanker. He's not really doing that much to me because I do have that 45% resistance. And we're just using every attack we have the second it recharges. And just punch him and hit him and smack him and haymaker him and everything else. Dull Pain gets us almost back to max hit points, well above max hit points because it adds hit points. And we completed the mission. Good, I am... As much as Liberty Lass is a superhero and in character, she would be beating all these guys up. There's no way I'm going to stay in this mission to do that. It's just too long. If it's a handful of guys in a warehouse, I don't care, but that's just way too long. Alright, so, clue. Ada's story says after we defeated the troll, he told us, okay, yeah. We had boy. But, see, we lost him. You heard of Circle, scary magic dudes? They said they give us big magic in exchange for boy. But then they just take him. So the trolls are stupid and they were trying to cut a deal with the Circle. So he says Ada's loss is one the trolls will feel for a long time. But if Sam Wincott really is in the Circle's hands, then we better move quickly. I don't know what the Circle plans to do with that young man, but I know they have only one goal here in the Hollows, finding the Cavern of Transcendence. Perhaps they plan to use Sam Woodcott and a Dread Ritual to uncover its location. So we're going to talk to him in the future to continue the story arc, but for now I'm going to stop because it's been long enough. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes.